everybody, and welcome to the Night Owl, a show that we do twice a week where we discuss the latest in pop culture, news, gaming news, and also TV and movie reviews. With me, as usual, there we have Professor R2. How's it going, Professor?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Doing well tonight. How are you, Bryce?
I'm doing good. I'm just drinking some kind of iced coffee here in the background because
Oh, yeah.
it
Little
is late
pick me up.
night. Yeah, we need sometimes you need that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's been an interesting week. There's a lot of interesting developments. For starters, there's this movie. I don't know if you heard of it. This "Am I Racist" movie. Have you heard of it?
I have heard of it. It's something I definitely want to get to go see. I simply just have not had the time. So, yeah, interested
Uh,
to hear your impressions and what you
I
think of it.
barely found time today, finally, to see it, and I wanted to see it because I felt that there was a lot of controversy around it, and I wasn't sure if the controversy was right or not. I think that these days, a lot of times, those kind of Daily Wire people or people that are conservative, they get dismissed by the mainstream media no matter what they say or do. I've never been about that. I don't know why suddenly somebody decided that if you're right leaning or you're conservative or whatever it is, then you're not a person. You can still be that and have your beliefs. And sometimes people come from a more religious background or whatever it is that drives them. To just dismiss them is something that I've never been a fan of.
Yeah,
It's not.
unfortunately, I think that that's something that's happened a lot in politics in recent years. At least I think it's driven by politics. It's happening in a lot of different areas of life in society. But I think that's something we've seen a lot in politics is this drive to almost, like you said, to like unperson, to like completely dehumanize people just because they have opposing views. To say, "Oh, you're over here, I'm over here." That means nothing you say has any validity whatsoever, and it's kind of disgusting, to be honest. I mean, we used to have the idea used to be in society that whatever standing we had, whatever political leanings we had, we could at least have a discussion about it. We could at least talk, right? And in the last 15 years or so, I feel like it's gone completely downhill to where if you're not in line with me politically, there's absolutely nothing that you have to say that I even want to hear. Right? It's pretty disturbing, to be honest.
It's very disturbing, and I also want to say somebody that, let's say, comes from whether it's a Christian background or maybe somebody of Jewish faith or whatever it is, and there's certain beliefs and certain things that they have that sort of are important to them. To just say, "Oh, you're some weirdo with beliefs, like you don't count," is also it's not right to do that. Who says that your beliefs are the right ones? I mean, in a society, obviously, in a modern society, you try to reach some type of compromise sometime, and sometimes there will be clashes of culture and clashes of religion. But I think that completely to take people and just dismiss everything they have to say. Now, if let's say your religion says go kill, go harm all these people or whatever it is, that's another issue. I mean, sometimes you have situations like that I'm against, of course, but if it's something bonkers and unreasonable, but I'm saying somebody that has maybe more traditional family values or comes from a different direction, to just dismiss that as though that there's something terrible about the people that have those kind of values, I am 100% against that. And I think that a lot of times what they do to these kind of Daily Wire and conservatives, they try to put them in this kind of corner of like they're terrible people. They kind of do to them what they do to us with movies. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, there's honestly there's been this mantra that you can hear from a lot of people, especially people who are left leaning in recent years, where they say the only thing I won't tolerate is intolerance. And I've got news for you. If you're going to be tolerant, you also have to tolerate intolerance, or what you perceive as intolerance. That's what freedom of speech is, right? It's uh, it's putting up with views that you might not agree with, and if you think that someone's views are intolerant, you're just automatically going to dismiss them. Then That's it's censorship. It's just ignorance is what it is.
I
So
I
yeah,
agree. And I don't think that that's a way to sort of move forward as a society. Again, we're two guys sitting here, we're two dudes speaking on a late night show. I don't know
yeah,
if we're going to solve the world's problems,
no,
but, but you understand what I'm trying to say. That I've been in situations where I've met people with different beliefs, and the fact that they come from a certain direction or angle or belief or something that guides them that may not be the same as what guides you, it doesn't mean that they're not people. And sometimes, yes, there will be maybe things that are even fundamental that people disagree upon, but as long as it's not a situation where because they're part of a group, they want to physically harm you or anything like that, I think that generally speaking, we should find ways to be more open. That there's other points of views, and that there isn't just one point of view. Where I think what's happened now, like you said, in recent years, it's only the mainstream media that decides whatever the point of view is that's considered legitimate. And if you don't fall into that point of view, then you become a persona non grata.
yeah,
And that's kind of what happened to those type of Daily Wire people.
yeah, and
So
to this movie, to get kind of to the point, right? If you go to look at Rotten Tomatoes and you go see any other movie that's in the theater right now, it's got dozens, if not hundreds, of top critics who have reviewed the film. Right? They've seen it. They've written a review of it. Today, still, after having been out for days, the full weekend of release, there is still not a single quote unquote top critic that is registered on Rotten Tomatoes as having reviewed the film. The only critics on there are ones that are not considered top critics. Some of them are honestly, I think, pretty notable, like Alan Ang or Jeremy Johns, right? Yeah, they're YouTubers, but they're pretty well known. There's others from
yeah,
other
and Jeremy
publications
John
that are out
got a
there.
lot of crap today from people that were upset at him.
Yeah, for just
Like,
just for having watched it, just for having watched the movie and doing a review on it. It's absurd. It's absurd.
yeah, and the thing is that it's like I said, that somebody decided at some point that anything that has to do with conservatives or the Daily Wire is bad. Now, there's people that are even conservatives or people that are more right leaning that may like or not like them. Some people like the Blaze, some people don't like the Blaze, some people like the Daily Wire, some people don't like the Daily Wire. There's a lot of weird politics even in these groups,
Yeah, there
and
is.
I'm certainly I'm not really, I don't know if to say I'm not knowledgeable, because I'll say that I'm knowledgeable enough, but I really don't get involved in those kind of dramas. They don't interest me as much. What I will say is I don't like the idea that the mainstream media considers a lot of these type of news organizations not legitimate because they don't like the opinions of the people there, and most of it has been surrounding the whole. If men can be women, women can be men, which is a topic that I think, on the other hand, I think that whoever it is, the mainstream media and maybe the ultra left or whatever it is, they one day just got up, introduced a whole set of ideas that came out of left field. And if you didn't agree with those ideas, and if you didn't say it was the best thing that ever happened, you'd be not a person anymore. So I never
Yeah,
liked that. And the fact that maybe there's other people because of their beliefs that don't believe in that or have issues with it, it should still be a dialogue that uh, e- even that sometimes requires a dialogue. Whatever the outcome, it requires a dialogue. And I think that when you create a situation that nobody else can say anything and nobody else can talk, and you have to say everything, and all the people have to agree with you, there's something wrong with that.
yes, and I think the good news that it to be taken away from all of that is that I think in recent months, and maybe this film is going to help with some of this. I think a lot of people in the middle, a lot of people who would consider themselves either center left or center right or whatever, that have basically been forced to be silent, right? They're sort of told, well, either you go along with this or you're the enemy. Either you let us do whatever, you let these very very noisy, very disruptive people do what they want, or you're going to be the next target. I think a lot of those people have started to wake up to how very far this has gone, right? How the you were talking about, like, all of a sudden there's these ideas, and if you don't accept them, you're the bad guy, right? I think a lot of people in the middle have recognized that now maybe it's okay for them to voice their displeasure with some of these crazy things that have been happening. Uh, people just saying I'm a man or I'm a woman, and that's what makes you that, right? Self ID. Uh, some other wild things that have to do with children and what just some of these really crazy, just completely out there things that we've basically been told in society, well, if you don't accept them, you're the bad guy. I think there's a lot of people who are finally fed up. They've finally had enough, and they're finally saying that it's going to be okay for them to start to push back on some of this. So, I think in society, a lot of times we talk about some of these different ideas in society having sort of a pendulum effect, right? Where you swing real far in this direction and then it just goes a little bit too far and it starts to come back. I think maybe we have finally sort of hit the apex of the swing on that pendulum, and people are starting to realize that maybe it's
I think we
okay
have. I
if they
think we
start to push
have.
back.
I think
Yeah.
we have, but it's not happening fast enough, and I'll say that it should have happened faster. The amount of years that this has been going on is not good. It didn't do good for anybody. It didn't do good for an entire generation of people that grew up during this time, and I don't know how this what kind of damage it's going to do long term. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll swing back and it'll be okay, but man, a lot of things are really twisted. And you're right. I consider myself kind of a middle of the road type of person. I mean, I'm not before all this stuff that was happening. It's not that I was so interested in politics. I just wanted to mind my own business, if that makes any sense. And
No, it
over,
absolutely does. I think there's a lot of people in society who really they're uncomfortable with politics. They don't really, not that it's something that they never want to think about. They're happy to think about these things privately, but like having politics just pushed as part of this mainstream, very you know out there part of our culture that's just being questioned and pushed in your face all the time. I think a lot of people are kind of uncomfortable with that. Oh, is
I
Bryce?
agree
Oh,
with
there he
you.
is. There he is.
I'm trying to find something.
Yeah.
Well, if you notice, there's people in the chat. If you happen to have a thing open, just to answer some of them. But what was I going to say? That I think that this movie, when it comes to this movie, I don't think there was a legitimate reason for all these kind of critics to boycott it or whatever it is. I see that at the end, some people on Rotten Tomatoes did actually review it, which is nice to see. But
Mhm.
it's as if they don't even put them here. I mean, they put them here, but they don't. They're not willing to give it a score. It's as if it's not a movie, and I disagree with that actually.
Yeah, they do, if you look at all critics, it'll show that they do give them in fact, everyone who's listed as critics on Rotten Tomatoes for this film right now has given it a fresh score.
I mean, you have a guy called Wade Major from, well, this is NPR Los Angeles. So what does he say? He says, "You're not getting anywhere on the subject, but it's funny. But is he making his point? I think he's too divisive a figure to be persuasive." So this person didn't actually give it a bad score, but he doesn't like the guy, so he's flip
Yeah.
flopping.
Well,
Jeremy,
I think he does have a bit of a point, to be honest. I think saying, well, Matt Walsh, he is kind of a divisive figure. There might be a lot of people who aren't really even willing to consider his point of view because he's a divisive figure. Now, is that right? As we were kind of already alluding to, like, should they just dismiss it because of who made it? No, I think people
why
should
is
be
he
open to.
considered? Maybe there's something that I don't know, but it feels like the media made him the divisive figure. Why? Because he's outspoken about the thing about the men being women and the women being men. Somebody is allowed to speak about that. I don't know why we've become a society that nobody can say anything. It's like I told you, somebody came with a new set of rules, just said, "Here's the rules, you better love it or else." And then nobody could ever say a word. I mean, that's not right either. And you can say, "Well, he's a bit outspoken." A guy like that emerges when you have the other situation that I just described.
Mhm.
When there's one unhealthy situation, maybe another guy is more vocal about it. But honestly, I think that there should have been more dialogue about it. That's just my opinion. Not enough dialogue is had, and anybody that wants to have a dialogue is considered a terrible person. And again, this is not. I'm not saying like I'm a fan. I don't really know. It's not that I sit around and listen to his news shows or whatever it is that he does. But I'll say that he has the right to make this movie. I went and I watched the movie. I just want to see what these people said. It made me laugh. That's Jeremy Johns really took a risk here because everybody was piling up on him.
Oh yeah.
Matt's movie reviews. Matt Walsh swiftly and entertainingly exposes the race industry for the crazy charlatan grift that it is. Alan NG, half the audience will laugh, the other half will walk out. Christian Toto, from Toto Hollywood and Toto. Matt Walsh exposes DEI madness and hysterical overdue takedown. Avi Ofer, a bold, provocative, and outrageously funny documentary. Regardless of where you stand politically, Am I Racist will be an eye-opening experience that will change the way you look at anti-racist and racism in America. Uh, Walsh has a knack for asking seemingly ingenuous questions that make his interlocutors sound like the racist. It's a shame he didn't rely on this tactic more. This documentary often veers into absurdity, with Walsh indulging in socially awkward behavior. So I'll tell you what, I think that a lot of, there were a few here that I really agreed with. And most of them, I think, gave a positive score. All of them gave a positive review. And a lot of these comments here I agreed with. What I'll say is this. This is my comment on it. And it's really not a movie that I could ruin for somebody. And I'll tell you why I can't really ruin it, because it's not like a narrative. It's more just a documentary. So I don't think there's anything that I'm going to say that'll ruin it. I believe 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser has sent people here. Uh, he was watching Kindergarten Cop today on Toxic Tuesdays. Nick is a great guy. So if you're watching this show and you're not already subscribed to Nick, you should do that. And if you arrived here from Nick's show and you're wondering where you are, then quickly subscribe to this channel too, so that we'll all kind of be in the same circle of trust. And back to my discussion, whatever we were talking about, this Am I Racist movie. So the thing is that I actually had hoped that it would be more funny, more of a comedy. I thought, oh, he's going to do something kind of like Borat, but in the other direction, kind of, or even the original Borat, the first one. I think he was making people kind of look silly,
Yeah.
even people that weren't. It wasn't as political, the first one. I think that he was just making Americans look silly, whereas the second one he already became overly political, unfortunately.
Mhm.
But in this movie, I think that he manages, what these comments are saying is true. He manages to sort of expose this whole industry between DEI and these kind of DEI experts, these anti-racism expert, these kind of uh, anti-white, like whites that are anti-white experts, all these weird things. He manages to somehow bring out of them a lot of hypocrisy. And I think that in that sense, you can't take that away from him. He does it, and the guy that said out of these comments that it doesn't matter what political party you vote or whatever it is, there's something to be uh, learned by watching this movie. I agree. It is sort of an eye opener how there's this whole industry of these type of people that are just making money on it, and it's in their best interest that people hate each other so they can step into these companies or whatever and do these courses and conventions where they lecture you about crap. Meanwhile, all these people are making a ton of money off of telling you what a terrible person you are, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. So, working in academia, I can tell you this stuff has been around for quite some time. And thankfully, the institution that I work for, it has not been a very big deal. There's been some voluntary things you could go to, trainings and things, but there's not been anything nearly as pervasive as has happened at a lot of other schools. and a lot of businesses, frankly, where they essentially are like, everyone has to go to this seminar and you get to be browbeaten about how awful you are because you have white skin, or because you have a good job, or you've got so much privilege because you have a family, right? It's just like insane levels of stuff telling you that just because of immutable attributes of yourself, that you are somehow guilty. You're supposed to feel bad about yourself because you're an oppressor, or you're oppressed, whatever. No matter what level of success you've had in life, or where you came from, where you grew up, what class you were. If you're a first generation graduate of college, or if you came from a wealthy family. No, it's because of your particular color of skin, or some other immutable attribute, that you are a racist. You're incurably racist because you're white, or you have to be someone who's oppressed because you have a certain color of skin, right? It's I hate using the word toxic. I hate that, but that's what these ideas are. It's disgusting. And if there's a number of different books out there that have been written about this, talking about where all of these ideas came from. I've read more than a few of them, uh, but it's uh, just this pervasive thing in so many different organizations. There's people in those organizations who are just these activists who are constantly pressuring these ideas and pushing these on the institutions that they're part of, and it's done so much damage. It's oh god.
And in this movie, and I don't think it's a spoiler, there's one part where somebody mentions he's sort of, I don't know if to say undercover, but people don't recognize him and know that he's Matt Walsh and he's in a certain situation, which is not staged or anything, where just these people sitting there and telling you that if you're Republican, you're a Yahtzee. Just mentioning it,
Of
of
course.
course, like that's what it is. And if you voted for this, you're that. And all the white people should feel like they are Yahtzees and they should apologize. All this like weird stuff. And the thing is, he didn't stage it. He didn't make people say that.
No.
Basically, he just made them think that he wants to learn from their he wants to quote unquote do better, and he wants them to teach him. And then we sit around saying all this crazy stuff, and it's hard to look at that and not feel that there's something that doesn't feel right about it. And like the guy said, I like whoever that reviewer said, the guy that says it doesn't matter who you voted for. This is a movie that when you see it, if you're really with an open mind and you look at it, there's something to be learned here. And that's
Yeah.
how I felt about the movie. I think that it wasn't hysterical. Some people said, "Oh, I found it funny." I don't think that I sat there laughing the whole time. Maybe there were a few times that I had a chuckle, but it was more that I'm just kind of looking at it and it's intriguing and interesting. But it's not a movie. If you're looking for a Borat only with Matt Walsh, you're not going to get that here, in my opinion. At best, you're going to get something that here and there you'll maybe chuckle, but mostly you're just kind of going to kind of look at all these weirdos talking and think to yourself, man, this whole business between the DEI and all these type of people that corporations pay to do these courses or whatever, there's something that doesn't sit right with all that. That it's gone off the deep end. And really, if there was a case for the pendulum needing to swing back, you really see it while watching the movie. And I don't think that it's not like he's manipulating it, if that makes any sense. He's just showing you what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, I have not gotten to see this yet, but I've heard a number of people who have gotten to see it. They've talked about some things that are in the film, and I've also seen a few of the clips that have been released as well. One of them that I was like that convinced me of like I want to see this was uh, the clip where he's talking about Moana with the one anti-racist trainer or
Yes.
whatever, where he's saying, oh well, my daughter, like Disney princesses or whatever, and then the white Disney princesses are the most popular, and it's extremely racist and all this stuff, and she's, oh well, my daughter likes really likes Moana. She's like, oh, that's good, that she likes Moana. That's great, because then that's not racist, because she likes a brown Disney princess. But then he talks about, well, but if she wants to dress up for Halloween, what if she wants to dress up as Moana? I was like, oh no, you can't do that, right? So it's this insane level of hypocrisy, right? It's like,
Yeah, yeah,
you have to like
I
that, but
like
you
that
can't like
scene
it.
too. I like that scene too, and I think Matt Walsh, he may not be a comedian like Borat or the Sacha Baron Cohen, at least the first Borat. But what I'll say is that he isn't dumb. He knows what he's trying to get out of these
Mhm.
people, and in that sense, he asks questions and puts them in awkward situations, and those are probably his best moments in the sense that he has a point and he's trying to push them into a certain corner where suddenly they kind of look dumb, but
Yeah.
it's not that he's manipulating them really into looking dumb as much as he's just showing that what they're doing is dumb.
Honestly, a lot of these people, if you just let them talk, just let them talk, let them talk about stuff until they run out of their sort of rote, things that they'll tell anybody, and they really start piling on, and start talking about deeper and deeper into some of these different ideologies and stuff. It's like, there was someone not long ago was doing an interview where they were talking about queer theory. They were going into
Okay.
this, digging into it, talking about it, and the more they talked about it, they were getting deeper and deeper into talking about it, and eventually came around to the point of basically admitting that yes, the end point of queer theory would be the acceptance of pederasty. It would be the acceptance of uh, you know, having relations with children. That would be acceptable. It's like, okay, so you just told us that you're totally cool with that. That's the end goal of what everything that you're trying to push with queer theory, is that it's going to be okay for people to abuse children. Great. Thanks for letting us know that, right? Like, you let these people have enough rope, they're going to hang themselves. And I think for a lot of things that I've heard, that's what really happens in this film. And I'm down for it. I want to go see it.
I saw it. I don't regret seeing it. When I go to the theater personally, I like it more when there's more of an escapist feel, that there's some kind of
Oh,
plot.
sure.
I'm in a science fiction world. Those are the type of movies that I like to see. Now, when it comes to documentaries, if it's a documentary about a rock band that I like, or some kind of behind the scenes about a movie, those are things that are more my speed. When it comes to more, I don't know if to say social, political, whatever it is that happens in this movie, I think that that's usually not my preferred genre, but I will say that even though it's not my preferred genre, I went there and I thought it was interesting. If nothing else, it was interesting and somewhat
Yeah.
educational, and it kind of it, I don't know if to say it's important to see it, but I think that it's an interesting thing to watch. I think that people, no matter who they voted for, would benefit from watching a film like this. And the person that said, "Oh, it shouldn't be Matt Walsh here. He's so divisive." I don't know. Maybe I'm not familiar with all the stuff he said. I think that Matt Walsh has maybe annoyed me in the past, in the sense that we were always talking about how Star Wars was being taken over by activists. And for many years, everybody was just laughing at us, even the right wing and the Fox News, and when it comes to the Daily Wire, none of these people really cared about it. And at the end, when they finally figured out that this is a big deal, suddenly they came out of nowhere to start jumping on bandwagons, and that I didn't like. Or they suddenly started jumping on gaming bandwagons, whatever. You can't for years kind of dismiss it as dumb things that you don't care about, and suddenly like you really care about it because you think you'll get a few views out of it. So I think that in that sense he managed to annoy a few people, and maybe there's other reasons why some people would be annoyed at him for different reasons. But at the end of the day, when I watch a movie, I don't care if this guy once annoyed me with some stupid thing that he said. I give him the benefit of the doubt. He made a movie, and you could tell that work was put into it. It's not that he just just somebody put a camera there and he was winging it? This is a movie that required thought and planning. He had a certain goal of something that he wanted to show, and at the end of the day, I have to judge it by on its own merit and not if he once said something I don't like. If that makes any sense.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of the same. I think some people struggle with, I guess, eh, watching a film that's got a star in it that they don't particularly like. Maybe they've said something they don't want to listen, or voice some opinion that they don't want to, give voice to, or they just don't like the actor for some reason, right? But sometimes you have to separate the actor from the art,
Yeah, I
right? If you
mean,
want to
for
go
me,
see
I
films,
don't
and
pay attention to all the stuff that he usually does or says. It's not really my thing. I don't sit around and listen to a lot of news pundits in general.
sure,
So it's not really my scene. I looked at this as though I'm going to a movie, and I think that it's fair enough.
yeah,
I don't think that
yeah,
there's any issue with me approaching it as this is a movie and I'm going to watch this movie and say what I think. And you know what? At least this guy is trying to do something. He tried to do something. It takes a lot of I don't know what word I'm looking for, but with the world that we live in, that there's so much boring people repeating themselves, nobody taking any risks, nobody really standing for anything, nobody really doing anything. He had his movie, he had his vision, and he made it happen. And there's some part of me that appreciates it. I think I think it's a I think the movie has merit, and I think that anybody could watch it and learn something from it, if that makes sense.
yeah,
So yeah, so that's my review of it. It's a very interesting lesson about things that are happening in this country. I think he interviews a lot of interesting people and he does it in kind of clever ways, and you really get a glimpse of things that are happening in this country, why they're happening, and it's something that I don't really see in a lot of other movies. So I guess I would recommend it. It's not my favorite movie in the world. It's not a movie that you leave that you're super happy, and it's not a movie that I won't wanna watch it again. It's not like I wanna watch it 50 times, but there's something interesting about it, and it is worth something.
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess that's it. So that was my, review of that, and in addition to that, uh, I don't know if you saw the video that I made earlier today. I mean, I've been talking about this. I'm trying to think. I probably mentioned this on the previous show, but there's a group of people that have been trying to demonetize content creators because they didn't like Star Wars: The Acolyte. As dumb as that sounds, I mean, imagine people losing their livelihood because they didn't like a TV show. So initially, there was this article in Forbes that they were trying to push it, and what I published today was this interesting video that basically it turned out that the very people that were trying to demonetize all the other channels, they had a history of just sitting around and targeting people they didn't like and boycotting them, including people that were uh, from the sort of demographics that they consider diverse and inclusive. Personally, I don't even care about all that stuff. If I meet a person that I like, then that person is cool, and if they're cool, they're cool. If they're not cool, not cool. All this stuff of like POC, diverse, and whatever. These are weird things that somebody generated over the past few years, and I think they've been more divisive than unifying, if that makes sense. But I guess what I'm trying to say is the very people that are claiming that they want inclusivity and that other people should be demonetized because they're not inclusive, it turns out that they're the ones that aren't inclusive.
Mhm.
That was the bottom line. That's what I exposed, I guess. And
Yeah.
not that people didn't know it, but at least I brought a few receipts, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, it's pathetic. These YouTubers who are out there, who are saying, "Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't hate on this show, you can't say that that character is bad because that character is played by, a black woman, or it's played by, someone of color." And so you can't say, that they're bad because of that, right? Uh, Even though what we're talking about isn't their race, we're not talking about that anything about the color of their skin or anything. We're simply saying either their character was awful, just poorly written, right?
Right.
or their performance was poor. And I've got news for you. Yes, black women can have bad performances. It, it's
Yeah, I mean, the
possible,
thing is
right?
that I can't tell you if Amanda Stenberg is a good, actress or not, but what I can say is that in The Acolyte, she wasn't a good actress.
No, not at all. Terrible. In fact, there are times when I'm completely confused by the choices that she made. Sometimes she looks like she's just staring blankly at the camera or something off screen. It's like, what are you doing? What- I, am supposed to be able to see. Am I supposed to be able to see some emotion in your face? Because I don't see anything. I'm not
You
sure.
know, I would've if she didn't make all those annoying videos, I would've given her the minimum benefit of the doubt because with, Rosario Dawson in Ahsoka, she actually is an actress that I've seen in several things that I've liked her in. She has a natural likability, she has on-screen charm, she has a certain personality that's usually kind of warm and inviting. Somehow, on that stupid Ahsoka show, they made her look like this miserable sourpuss for all those episodes. She's just folding her arms and looking grumpy and miserable the whole time. It's awful. And I don't think that she wanted to do it. I don't think she got up in the morning and said, "Hey, can I stand around here like some grumpy, I don't want to say a bad word, but you know what I mean? Can I just stand here like some grumpy sourpuss all day?" I don't think that that's what the actress wanted.
Oh no, I wouldn't think so.
So it's
I would
like,
think they would want to be bringing a good performance. I think they want to be, presenting themselves in a way that they could actually take something and use that to further their career. They can put that in their portfolio. Other actors, other casting people are seeing that performance and saying, "Hey, I want that in my movie. I want that in my TV show." Uh, yeah. I mean, there's probably a lot of people to blame for the way the acolyte turned out. But that there's a lot of really, really weak performances in that show, and I think hers stands out as probably the worst. Um, when it
I
comes to
mean,
some of the
there's
other
no way
shows,
around it. There's no way around it. Her performance is terrible on that
yeah,
show. Now, if let's say she was at least a nice person and behaved nicely towards fans, you could, make the argument that maybe she really tried and they didn't give her a lot to work with. Maybe, but I really don't feel. I'm sorry, I don't have anything to go by. It's not like with Rosario Dawson that I can give you examples of things I've liked her in. So when I saw her in this, I could tell that she's being given really poor direction. When it comes to Amanda Stenberg, she doesn't have that kind of resume.
yeah,
So all I can do is really look at this show, and unfortunately, really doesn't win me over. And as much as Rosario Dawson looked like a sourpuss, I think that even she was a better actress in Ahsoka than
yeah.
Amanda Stenberg was in The Acolyte.
Yeah, and it's not you can't say that every performance in The Acolyte necessarily was terrible either. There's been quite a few people, and myself included, who've praised several performances in that. Lee Jung Jae, who doesn't even speak English, I feel like most of his performances in that show are pretty good. Uh, oh, what's his name? The one that plays the Sith guy. Um, oh, just forgot his name. But yeah, he's actually pretty good in this as well.
Is
He's
there a Sith guy? Is that Manny Jankito?
yes, Manny Jacinto,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
or
Listen,
his
those
performance is
two,
pretty
I
good too.
probably didn't pronounce his name right, but those two
Yeah,
actors were probably the best on the show. I unfortunately with that Manny guy, I don't know why, but they told him to act really pervy and weird, so it just comes off weird. So it's
he
hard
comes
for
off
me.
he comes off a little creepy. But
Weird. It
I
was
honestly,
strange. Yeah,
I think maybe he was told that's the
I'm
direction
sure
to
he
take
was
it
told
though.
to act that way, but
Um,
yeah, he's probably not a bad actor. I think that J Jung Lee, is that what you called him?
I think it's Lee Jung Jae.
Lee Jung Jae, the guy from Squid Games,
Yes,
that
Squid
guy
Game.
is probably the best actor in this entire series.
Yeah.
The only thing is that he has that disadvantage that he didn't even know English before coming to this show. Still, I think he does a great job considering that he doesn't speak English. It's funny because without speaking English, he's still probably the best actor on the show. But I think that if he didn't speak English well, maybe rather than giving him a role with so many sentences to say with these kind of complicated or whatever words, I think that maybe there was a different way to utilize him. Certainly I liked him. I liked seeing him in the show, and he was the bright spot, but really even his character, by the end of it, they made it a joke. But nothing against the actor. I think that if there's one actor that walks out of this show where I still think he's a good actor and I'm not really holding this against him, it's Lee Jung Jae.
Yeah. Yeah, his performance is fine. And I think the funniest part is that a lot of people were gravitating towards his character and his performance, and then they make a complete jackass of him at the end. Like in that last episode, oh, he's crying. Oh, go ahead and kill me. Go ahead and use your anger to kill me and join the Sith because I'm so bad and I only ever loved you. I was like, oh, please,
Yeah,
please
I
stop.
don't know. That was a really bad show.
Just
And the fact
destroyed
that they
that
can't
character.
take responsibility for it. I mean, you did something bad, you have to admit it. Sometimes you gotta embrace your failures. If you don't admit you failed, you won't be able to improve.
Well, there's so much wrong with that show. God, we could sit here and talk for hours about everything that was wrong with that show. But yeah, there was no reason for him or any of the other Jedi to ever cover up what they did in the first place. The Jedi in the show did nothing wrong. They,
Right. And by the way,
yeah.
did you see what happened with Diddy?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I don't think I got the whole story, but I did see quite a bit of him getting arrested, the charges that were brought. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is that I was telling people before I was talking with Tom on Midnight's Edge, and I was telling him that on Midnight's Edge After Dark, I was telling him that I was surprised that he didn't leave the country. Now, it's not that I'm saying that I wanted him to leave the country. I was just suggesting that if I were him and I knew that this was coming, I'd probably try to find a way to leave. But people were saying that's why he went to Miami. Maybe he was trying to get out of there quietly and he wasn't able to. But I don't know, man. I know that for years, there's been chatter. I don't think this is really a shocker for anybody if you get what I'm saying.
No, I don't think there were too many people who were uh, really surprised. Maybe some of some sex trafficking, perhaps they might have been taken aback on that, but a lot of the other things that were alleged that were part of this indictment, you're like, oh, he's accused of forced labor and beating women and all sorts of bribery, and so you're like, okay, yep, I'm I'm sure that happened. It's
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that, and I was mentioning it before. Don't forget that years ago there was a trial where basically, if I'm not mistaken, Diddy was with Jennifer Lopez in a club, and there were people shooting, and he shot, and other people shot, and somehow they wanted to do a trial with him, and I don't know what happened. Initially, it seemed like not good for him, but suddenly, either nobody was willing to testify, or I don't really remember the details. The whole thing got somehow tossed away or somehow vanished, and nothing happened to the guy. And I think that some of these guys, instead of understanding that maybe one time they were lucky and they got away with something, instead of thinking to themselves, okay, maybe I better stop doing this, a lot of these guys just saying, you know what, if I could get away with that, maybe I can get away with this. And in that sense, it kind of reminds me of the behavior with R. Kelly, which also years ago there was some kind of case that was a borderline case. They could prove it, they couldn't prove it. Everybody was kind of wishy washy about it. They set him free. And usually, most people in that situation say, okay, I don't know what I did until today, but now I'm I'm not doing anything wrong anymore. But the opposite happened. He started thinking, you know what? I can do anything. What's that song that he has? He believes he can fly or
Yeah.
whatever. That's what he believed, I guess, for real. And he just figured I could do whatever I want. And then
Yeah.
later when they caught him, it was much worse. And I feel like this is kind of this thing with Diddy that they caught him was much worse. And what I was saying on also on that stream was that Diddy is sort of like a hybrid between Weinstein, Epstein, and the you know Cosby kind of rolled up into one somehow.
Ooh.
I mean, I don't know that you want to
Yeah.
be that, but I feel like
No.
somehow he's managed to take a little bit of each of these characters and be his own and make it his own.
There's so many wealthy, famous people who have gone down similar roads, right? They as you're saying, like they're finally convinced, hey, I get away with this, I get away with that, I can bribe this person, I've got enough money to do this, so I'm invincible, I'm untouchable, I can get away with anything, right?
Right.
So they go do all sorts of wild, crazy things and expect that they're just going to be able to buy people off, and uh, people are going to ignore them because they're famous. They're going to be starstruck, whatever,
You
and
know what? I'm going to say
eventually,
something. I don't know if this is controversial, but I was saying Epstein, Weinstein, and Cosby. I would also throw OJ in there.
yeah, yeah,
He's sort of like he studied every person what like they did wrong and wanted to be like the Voltron of all these people.
Voltron, nice.
If all four of those
Uh,
formed a Voltron, I guess it would
yes,
be Diddy.
and
I finally I made you laugh.
and and Diddy will form the head. Yes, that'll be
Right.
great. Yeah.
There was always something about him. Even if you just look at him when he's just like his eyes, something about them, like there's something always like off about him. That makes any sense?
Oh, I was never really somebody who was at all interested in any of his music or any part of his life. I'm not particularly starstruck by most people. Um, it's not something that really affects me. And there was nothing about P Diddy. And it's hilarious. Did you actually see the indictment? It has like he has like 7 different, names
Crazy.
in the indictment, Sean Combs, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Diddy, PD, and Love. That's a fu 6 names.
Yeah, it's funny that he went for love.
He goes by
That's
Love. Yeah, okay.
that's such a believable nickname for him. But what was I going to say? That somebody said here, Price of Reason live. Cosby is coming back to comedy. By the way, he's testing out new material and such. I'm sure it'll be a hoot. Uh, Somebody said OJ wasn't playing with kids or doing stuff in traffic.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
the thing is that maybe he wasn't, but the idea of him beating up women, like they caught Diddy beating up his ex-wife or whatever she was, that is actually the part that's a bit similar. Plus, I mean, there's
Yeah.
other things, but I prefer not to say them. But there's a reason why I said it. I think that he has that kind of, I want to say, the violent streak or whatever that is, in
Yeah,
addition to the other ones.
yeah, there does seem to be some pretty seriously disturbing, levels of violence and, uh control, over women and stuff, power over women that I don't know if it's a power trip for him or if it's something else.
There's
But
always
it's
been
disturbing.
something off about that guy, in my opinion. And the reason why I said that he was kind of like the Voltron of all of those people, because OJ Simpson, he takes the violence with women and things like that. Cosby, I would say it was different things that he gave people that he under the influence put people under the influence and did stuff. So that's along those lines. I mentioned the Weinstein thing because he was in a position of power, and I'm understand. I'm sure that there were situations that he used that position to get certain things that he wanted, if that makes any sense. And then at the same time, I use the Epstein one is because the things that he would sort of traffic thing. You know what I'm trying to say. So,
Mhm.
and also to his friends and maybe rich people and whatever it is. So somehow he was like a hybrid of all these different people. Maybe worse than all of them in a way. But I don't know. I think time will tell how bad this is. But it wouldn't surprise me if it turns out that he ends up being like the worst of the lot.
Yeah, and it seems from what I have read and from what I have
And I
seen.
can't believe I'm looking for a worst of the lot here, but you understand what
Yeah,
I'm trying to
yeah,
say.
from what I've read and what I've seen so far regarding this indictment and everything that's been brought against him, it sounds like they waited until they had a a sure thing, until they had an open and shut case. I don't think that there's any chance, that he's walking away from this. I think he's gonna be in prison for a long time.
The dead man says Cosme used to do comedy routines about the Spanish fly thing in the 70s. Yeah, that was part of his
Ugh,
routine.
yeah.
Listening to it in our day and age is kind of weird, but yes, I know what you mean. I've heard it before. Certainly doesn't hold up nicely when you know. In any case,
Oh,
when you
yeah.
listen to it, it's kind of weird. I try to say, okay, maybe it was a thing of its time that was supposed to maybe funny for somebody, but
Yeah.
obviously, with everything that we know when we hear it, it doesn't have that kind of humor when you listen to it now, I guess.
Oh, I mean, it's so sad. Like, honestly, I grew up listening to Cosby albums. I used to listen to those with my grandmother, like, not specifically ones about Spanish Fly, but, like a lot of the comedy that he would do, the more family friendly comedy that he would do. And
Man, in
it's
the
so
80s.
hard.
Sorry,
It's
go on.
it's just so hard now to even think about that old stuff because it's like, wow, like,
I mean, in the 80s, Cosby was could do no wrong. I mean,
no,
he was
no,
the top show on TV for years. All families we used to gather together to watch him.
yeah,
I don't know if there was one man that did made such a difference. I know this is going to sound bombastic when it comes to image of African black people, uh, image. I don't know if that's the right word. Relations, image. Really changed something in the sense there were a lot of other shows with black people and things like that, a lot more than actually what we see today. That nobody ever remembers that.
yeah,
But I think that this show that just showed a family and showed this doctor and showed whatever it is, they were so kind of just a regular family that everybody could relate to, and that was such a barrier. Uh, the fact that sometimes I say that people use too much of that DEI or they do all this kind of anti-racism and all that kind of stuff. I think that in our day and age, they do too much of it. But I think that in the 80s, it was still a time where things needed to change. And in that sense, I do feel that his show made a difference. A
yeah.
lot more than any of those dumb things that we see today. And it's sad because he was so important to that. And at the end, he ended up being that guy.
Yeah, yeah,
So
like,
such a tarnishing of what would have otherwise been a magnificent legacy.
yeah, and, Matthew Marcelo was saying, like, he was America's dad, right? And he stood for family values and all this stuff. I mean, where would ugly sweaters and pudding pops have been without Cosby? So, I mean, come on. It's kinda sad.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I think that he was just such a consensus. I think that's the word I'm looking for. And I'm not saying that there were other good things happening. I mean, when it came to music, people were listening to Michael Jackson. When it came to TV shows, people were watching The Cosby Show. I think Eddie Murphy was one of the biggest stars of the 80s. There were certainly a lot of things happening when it came to uh, entertainment and black people that was really taking off in the 80s and really making a difference, much more than any weird crap that we see today. And he was a part of that. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's especially sad. I mean, I'm going to say something here. Even with Harvey Weinstein, I mean, with that Epstein guy, I don't really know that there's. I don't know much. He didn't contribute anything to society or to entertainment or anything. You know what I mean? There's nothing I can say about that guy. But
Yeah.
when it came to Harvey Weinstein, say what you want about him, maybe his behavior, but he was genuinely a good producer. I mean, that's the part that's annoying, that he did have he also, without that thing, his legacy of being a producer would have maybe been unmatched.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it would have
Oh,
been like one for the books, the kind of legacy he would have as a producer.
yeah. We got a super chat over on YouTube from the Dead Man for $1.99. Thank you, the Dead Man. Almost called you the Dad Man because I see Dad Man everywhere. The Dead Man for $1.99. Cosby was America's dad in the 80s. Yes, absolutely. Uh, that was, he was beloved. He was absolutely beloved, and he was looked up to by a lot of people. And yeah, it's just so depressing to think about, where he's gone since then and the things that we've learned about him since then. So,
Yeah, I mean, somebody said here in the comments, where was it that somebody said if I saw it was a funny comment here. Phantom Outsider
oh
wrote,
yeah,
he could do no wrong. Did you ever see Ghost Dad or Leonard Part 6? Okay, I'm not saying that everything he did was perfect, but he certainly did a lot of good things. So I think that there was a general feeling that he was this good family guy that everybody liked.
yeah. I mean, come on, I grew up on the Fat Albert, right?
Oh, that's another thing. That's another thing. We'll get to that in a second. So shocking when Cosby was arrested, for he was America's dad and the epitome of the paternal family values. That's from Matthew Marcillo, and I agree. And when it comes to Fat Albert, even that was a great show for kids. Was he also? What else did he do? Did he do like the Electric Company, or he wasn't on that?
No, he did, well, no, yeah, no, he was on the Electric Company. You're right.
Yeah, he was
You're
on
right.
that too. I feel like there were years where this guy was Mr. Children's Entertainment, Fat Albert, the Electric Company. I mean, that was just one thing he did, and then aside from that, he was just a comedian, and he had his movies and shows and everything. I mean, there really wasn't there weren't many people, period, with that kind of success in so many different fields, and he was so well liked. So yeah, I mean, maybe from all of those, that one's the biggest disappointment. But regardless, I think that in back to Diddy, I wouldn't say that disappointment is a real word here. I don't think that there were many people that walked around and thought, "Wow, I love Diddy." I think most people thought to
Yeah.
themselves,
Yeah.
this guy, there." I mean, even with
Yeah. Yeah.
Tupac and Biggie, there were all these rumors and things. There's always this feeling that this guy. What I could say is at least he's probably a good businessman. But aside from that, I don't really know what to tell you. None of this is a shock to me.
Yeah, I'm sure there are people who looked up to him in terms of his, musical talent or producing talent, his perhaps even his business acumen, but I'm not sure there are too many people looking up to him saying, "What a moral, upstanding citizen this guy is."
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think anybody was thinking, "Wow, like this Diddy is so great." And I wonder what's going to happen. I mean, is this going to be a situation where they actually find something and do something, or is he just going to get off on everything and just
No,
not
I
nothing will happen to him?
I don't think he's walking away from this. I like I said, I from what I've seen in the indictment, these significant number of charges that are brought there, and obviously we have to wait till there's evidence. We have to see what happens in the courtroom, but it looks like they waited until they had an open and shut case. They knew that they were going to be able to get him on these charges before they bothered to actually arrest and bring the indictment. So again, anything can happen in a trial. There's all kinds of stuff that could come out, but it looks like they probably have him dead to rights. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, I've seen a lot of trials and a lot of things where it seemed like that's what was going on, and
Yep,
then you never
yep.
really know. But definitely, it'll be interesting to see how this thing unfolds. And then
Yep.
I didn't even see this. This is something that I'm just seeing for the first time now. So this is news to me. Archie Punjabi to play Doctor Who villain in a new season from Disney Plus and BBC. I don't even know what to tell you. I don't know who this is, but this show is so bad.
It's
It's so
astonishingly
bad.
bad.
It's like I I I at some point I was just really busy when this last season aired. The
Yeah,
first few episodes aired, I did a review on them, and then I just didn't feel like watching anymore. Like at some point I stopped watching. I watched a few more
yeah.
episodes and then I just stopped mid-season, and I don't feel like going back to watch it. I know that maybe I have to just so
No.
I know, so I'm knowledgeable in why it's bad, kind of like as a pop culture critic, I have to know why it's bad, but really it's real suffering for me to watch this crappy show at this point, and I don't even know what villain this is going to be. Unfortunately, I can't even take it seriously either. These days,
Yeah,
I'm already
doesn't even matter.
preconditioned when I see this kind of thing. I think the worst.
Yeah, and, honestly, from some of the rumors about, what's going on with Disney and, their disappointment in the ratings they got from this first season, with Ncuti Gatwa, it sounds like season 2 might be the end. Not just the end of Ncuti Gatwa, but it may not even be produced anymore. So, this first season with him, as the Doctor was absolutely dreadful. It was embarrassing. The
Of course, it was
writing was
embarrassing.
so on the nose. The performance from different actors, especially Ncuti, was just I can't think of another word. Embarrassing, right? You've got the Doctor, this nearly timeless space alien who's lived all these lives in all these places and is supposed to be basically, just way above humanity and in his understanding of the world and how things work and he's crying in every episode. He's jumping at jump scares and running away from monsters and stuff instead of standing up and fighting back or looking at the monster and recognizing that they're not really a monster to begin with. Like we've seen seasons, dozens of seasons of the show where we've seen the Doctor, and he was not the Doctor. I watched 3 episodes that I actually watched all the way through. The rest of them, I kind of watched. I think I watched Disparu review most of the rest of them. I watched the first one, and I watched the one with the musical. Um, uh, Whatever character who was a drag queen, dressed up as this character who used music as a weapon, whatever. And then I watched the last episode, and they were just all terrible, just terrible. The the Space Babies episode was the stupidest episode of Doctor Who I have ever seen. I was just sitting there just like, "What is happening? This is the stupidest show I have ever watched in my life. I do not
I agree
understand
with
what
you.
you are doing
I
to
couldn't take
to"
it seriously. Honestly,
No.
the first I saw those first 2 episodes, I reviewed them, and maybe if I had time, it was a few months that I just didn't have time. Maybe if I had more time, just for the heck of it, like Disparu does, probably not as good as Disparu, but I would do some pretty interesting reviews and maybe a few people could have a chuckle with. And
Yeah.
I guess I would do that. I was just very busy. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not like I was so excited. I watched a few more episodes, and man, they were such downers. I just looked at it and I'm like, you know what? This isn't Doctor Who. That's
No.
really what I thought when I watched it. It already was there was no more feelings, no more. Oh, I can't believe how they've ruined it. At that point, I'm just sitting and watching something and I don't know what it is anymore. It's not Doctor Who, and he doesn't act like the Doctor. I know that each Doctor has his own quirks or whatever, but I don't believe that a quirk is that you cry all the time and act like a wimp. Like I don't
Yeah.
think that that's considered a quirk. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's oh.
I mean, it's one
I
you
hate
have a
to even
long scarf for something, fine, but I mean,
yeah, I
to cry every second and act like a wimp, that's not for me, I don't
yeah,
know.
and like I said, like, running away from the enemies and stuff, like, it not
Ridiculous,
protecting
embarrassing, that's there's no other way to describe it.
yeah.
The thing is that Disney, um you know, I was told that there was some other reason why they did this deal, but whatever the reason it is that they did the deal with the BBC over this stupid thing, over Doctor Who, I mean that they did their stupid deal, is that maybe they thought they could adapt it to an American audience or whatever. Americans don't know what this is, so if they were trying to get them excited about it. They didn't get excited about it. Whatever audience that was left that would be willing to even watch this, they alienated them. You can't just rely on a handful of activists. You need real viewers, and what they've done with Doctor Who is, I mean, it is believable. They did the same thing with Star Wars, and they've done the same thing with Star Trek. They've taken the biggest sci-fi franchises in the world and just ruined them, all for these kind of agendas and politics and whatever it is. But on a brighter note, I just saw this thing with Mr. Beast and Amazon. Did you know about this harassment thing? And did you know this thing was going on?
I've heard some of the things that have been happening around Mr. Beast and some of the people he was working with and various different connections there. I had not seen this particular story though. This looks like this was published just a few hours ago. So yeah.
Yeah, no, this is something new. It seems like Mr. Beast can't catch a break recently.
Mm, yeah. Um, yeah, I never know with some of these YouTube personalities. Some of them, I genuinely, I'm like, they seem like really good people. I hope they're doing the right thing. Mr. Beast is not somebody that I've ever really followed. I mean, I'm not 12, so uh, I'm not really the target demographic for the various different things that he does. But
I
it's
mean, for many years when people were like all so happy and thrilled with him, I didn't really like him that much or take him seriously. I did think that sometimes if he did something like he was going to Africa and bringing
yeah,
wells of water there and stuff like that, I thought that was a pretty decent way to,
yeah.
use your celebrity. It didn't bother me that he was doing that. I thought to myself more of this. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, going into
So
Africa and digging wells and paying for people to have surgery to cure blindness and all sorts of
that
like,
was pretty
yeah,
good.
those are
I
like,
didn't
yeah, great.
Yeah, I didn't mind all of that. I guess maybe there were other things about his personality that you don't see on camera. At the same time, let's not kid ourselves. You think you're going to become the number one YouTuber in the world, making like billions a year. You want to think that he's like a swell guy and he's like this man of the thing and he has all these like principles and whatever. At the end, a lot of times, somebody that reaches that kind of level and has that kind of money going in and out there, it changes a person. I don't know what he was like in the beginning, but you know what I'm trying to say?
Yep.
Somehow, this idea that he's the nicest person in the world, I mean, I didn't really buy that. That doesn't mean he doesn't know his job. That doesn't mean he doesn't know how to make videos.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, he's got a whole team, behind him. Actually, amusingly, I have a former student who actually works with his team, or at least did. Uh, I think he still does, but
I mean, it
um,
runs basically like a professional organization.
yeah,
You don't have
yeah.
a guy making these videos that are making, again, a brand worth billions. You don't have that thing happening just from some guy. He's not like us. He's not sitting there with some little camera and then sitting on his laptop and editing. There's a real professional team of people doing it.
Oh yeah,
And to be fair, he's built this thing. It's not that he just snapped his fingers and it happened. He really did invest years and time into perfecting whatever it is that he does, and I can't take that away from him. So sometimes when I'd see a video of his, just for, I'm not one of those people that are like, oh, he's doing well, I won't look at it. On the contrary, I look at it and say he's doing well. I wonder what he's doing. It's interesting to at least see what people like to watch. It may not be my cup of tea always, but it is interesting to see how he holds people's attention.
yep,
I mean, he
yep,
is
yep.
he is good at that when it comes to you make the video and then he does all these gimmicks and tricks that you won't turn it off and you'll continue to watch it. I mean, personally, they don't always work on me because I couldn't care less about half the stuff he does.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are people that I think it works on them. You know what I mean? It's sort of like a common denominator. Some oh, what about a boat for $1 and then a boat for $1 million? Oh, I'm gonna go with my friends and we're gonna eat steak on a boat. What are you gonna do? And like I don't know, he just does whatever, and you kind of look at it. Somehow he manages to capture your attention sometimes, but is it superficial? Is it dumb? Sure. But whatever. I mean, I can't take away his success for him. But the fact that now they're saying he's a bad person and weird stuff is happening under his watch doesn't completely surprise me either.
Yeah, when it comes to running big businesses like this, when you have, I mean, frankly, amateurs, right? I'm certain he probably did not employ too many people who were here looking at the legality of certain things that he was doing, looking, at the rules of how you're supposed to do certain things. As I'm trying to scan through the article, trying to see what was going on. It looks like there was a
I would think that he would have a lawyer. Once you're making that kind of money, I'm sure he had some type of lawyer.
you
I
you
would
would
think.
you would think so, but
If
who
he didn't,
knows,
then he's an
right?
idiot. Then I take back
Yeah.
everything, every good thing I said about him.
Uh, yeah, it sounds like there was some sort of contest or something, and someone's asserting that it was a scam. Um, I don't know, or that taxes weren't paid properly on some sort
So
of
some people
award,
think
some
this
sort
guy
of
kind
gift
of
that was
ruined
given.
YouTube and by extension entertainment because of that, hyper capture your attention crap. I mean, I don't blame him if he did it and it worked for him, but I can understand why some people feel that way about him. So it is what it is. I'm sure he's going to be fine. Maybe in the worst case, he stops making videos and he'll do like a Scrooge McDuck where he fills up a bathtub and swims in it. This thing,
Who
this
knows?
Paramount's and Hasbro's Transformers One rolling to 30 million plus opening weekend. I'm actually supposed to see that tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, I've been hearing decent things about it, but anything that I've seen of like any kind of commercial, anything for it, I actually don't like it. It doesn't look good for when I look at it. But
The trailer does not look good at all. I will
no,
give you that 100%. Watching the trailer, hearing some of the voices coming out of those characters being voiced by just a bunch of Hollywood stars, uh, no, it feels wrong. So far, early reviews seem to be pretty positive. That it's well made, well acted. I don't know. I don't know what to think. Right.
you
But
know,
yeah, the trailer
I
does not encourage me to want to go see it.
I always give movies a fair chance, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna give this movie a fair chance. It's sad because I had a few opportunities to see it like a week early, and each time it was like last minute when I got the invite or last minute, and it was just sometimes there's like a studio that they're like, "We have one ticket. Do you want to see it for a special press screen?" And it's like, if you don't answer within 5 seconds, you don't even have the opportunity anymore. So, but whatever. So I'll see
Yeah.
it on Wednesday, and
Yeah.
hopefully, I'm hoping
Mhm.
it won't be crap.
Yeah. Be interested to hear uh your opinion on that, because yeah,
I have a feeling that it's gonna be what that, mutant turtle thing for dumb
oh
kids is gonna
yeah,
be.
it
I
does
feel like
remind me a lot of that.
this is gonna be like a dumb Transformers for dumb kids. Sorry if there's kids listening and offended, but this is gonna be dumb for dumb kids. That's my gamble, but I hope I'm wrong. It's not that I wanna be wrong. I was on a stream today and somebody wrote, "Price never likes any movie." It's not true that I don't like any movie. I think that I'm hard on movies because especially in the past few years, they're just so disappointing. And I don't want to give these movies passes if they're not good. Sometimes I give movies passing grades, but like not with flying colors, and I explain what's wrong with them. It's not that I'm always looking to just give the movie a failing grade, but there's just a lot of bad movies out there in the past few years, like these kind of big tent poles that people have expectations from that don't deliver.
Yeah. And we've seen that for I don't know, for years. There's these movies you're like, "Hey, that looks like that might be alright," or you start to get lots of positive reviews coming out at the beginning, and, then you go see it and you're like, "Well, no, that wasn't any good. Why were people saying positive things about this again? Don't really understand why anyone thought this was good." it's full of plot holes, and some of the voice acting's awful, or just some of the acting, whatever. And yeah, I'll be honest, there's been very few movies in the past uh, 3 or 4 years that haven't just been complete disappointments. So
Yeah, I mean, I saw Godzilla minus one. I said I really
excellent.
liked it. I thought it was a good movie, and I meant it. I mean, it's not that I don't see any movies that I like. There has just been a lot of disappointments.
Yeah, in recent years, yeah, so many. I was really hyped for The Creator. I really liked some of the trailers for that. It looked very interesting. It looked like sort of a new intellectual property. I was like, I like the idea of getting to go see something that's not a remake, right? Uh, and I enjoy high concept science fiction. It looks really interesting, and there were so many things about that that I just loved. I thought some of the special effects in that were some of the best special effects I've seen in a decade. uh some of the cinematography was just gorgeous. There were some really interesting set pieces that were put together for that, but the story was a complete and utter dud. I knew 30 minutes into that film exactly what was going to happen at the end of the movie. I knew every plot beat that was going to happen because I was like, it's just a standard story that we've seen a million times. It's just, yeah, okay. Oh, he had a kid. Oh, well, the kid isn't going to end up being the kid that he's protecting. Oh, and then guess what? The mom's not actually going to be dead, or there's going to be some way they can recover her. And I was like, come on. Like it was just such a letdown in the end, because I thought I had so much potential, right? So, there's been a whole bunch of those films just in recent years. It's like, yeah, they had an opportunity to make something really good, and then it just ends up being a complete disappointment.
Yeah, I think that that describes so many movies that I went to see in recent years. But sometimes, it's not that I'm always, for example, Beetlejuice. I didn't give it a failing grade in my review. I said that I had a lot of issues with it. I said it wasn't good like the first one, but I also said it wasn't like an F. It's not a failure. It's just that if you're expecting a movie on the level of the first one, this is much lower than that. Then you got to lower your expectations because it's not a great movie. And I still stand by that, but people are like, he never likes any movie. That's what people were like chattering with each other in the chat, and I felt bad because it's not that my dream in life is to keep saying why I don't like a movie. I want to like movies. I want to see movies. I really like movies. That's what people don't understand. I just want them to be good.
Yeah, you just be better. You got to do better, Senator.
You got to do better, Senate. Exactly. So
You got to do
I
better, Hollywood writers.
they gotta do better. So you have this thing, FX Box John Landgraf talks of thrilling Emmy night for Shogun and The Bear, and dishes on future seasons following Disney's record-breaking night. It's annoying that somehow, I don't know if to call it luck or flukes or whatever it is. Somehow this year has been going really well for Disney, and I mean, they don't really deserve this success because they've been so annoying over the past several years. Some of it is almost just like flukes. Like I don't know that these were successes that they even anticipated, but yeah, they've had some
Yeah,
success this year. Deadpool versus Wolverine is a success. Inside Out 2 is a success. So at the box office, they actually have success. Then you have, I think The Bear is on Hulu, and so is Shogun on FX or whatever it is.
yeah.
So again, these things are theirs. These things brought them a lot of Emmys. They're getting Emmys. They're getting box office. Certainly on the surface, it seems like good things are happening for Disney. But the question is, what's happening in that company long term? These were kind of flukes, these
Mhm.
things, but
Yeah.
or maybe it shows that they're gradually, at least some parts of that company are letting go of at least some of their weird DEI propaganda agendas or whatever it is, and focusing a little more on entertainment.
Yeah, I'll say from the Emmys, I was really glad to see Shogun come away with so many wins. Not that I really care too much about awards, for the most part when it comes to Hollywood. awards shows. I think it's really just a
No,
lot of
it's just
patting
it's
each other on the back
overrated, it's
kind of a
overrated,
thing.
but you know what? I
But
I liked it because I genuinely thought that Shogun was a good show and I enjoyed
it
it.
really was. It was well made, and there were some great performances. I was, really pleased to see, Hiroyuki Sanada come away with lead actor in a drama series.
And
Uh,
also, Anna Sawai that played
yes,
Mariko-san, I
for
thought that
lead
she was
actress.
great. Really
Yes,
like her. Really
both
like that actress. Seriously, there isn't many things that happen today. It's so, rare that I watch a show and I'm like, "Wow, I really like this actress." That is
yes.
so rare, and when I watch Shogun, I'm like, "Wow, who's that?" Like, I really like her.
Yeah, and I've been a fan of Hiroyuki Sanada for a while. I've seen him in a number of different series, a film or 2, I think, and he just gives such, intense performances.
Oh, he was great.
He
He was great
throws
in the show.
himself into his roles when he does
He was
them, and
great in the show. I mean,
he was fantastic in this show.
he was like the gravitas that this show needed, but I think that if he added this kind of gravitas, she really brought the heart, if that
She
makes
did.
any sense.
Yeah,
And, between his, like, top top-notch, the kind of acting that you need from somebody of that stature of the character that he plays, I think that she brought this kind of personal touch to it that I thought was cool, and really, I like that this show had both of them. The problem is, and not to do spoilers or anything, but season two, they'll have to really rework whatever is going on there.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think that he's the only cast member that can probably return to that. And the
yeah.
question is, what exactly are they going to do? Because they don't really have source material. I'm so
No,
curious. I'm so curious what they're going to do with this thing.
I'm curious is not the word.
You're dreading it.
Horrified that they're gonna try and make more of this show without the source material and without the same, actors and the same acting chops that they had in that first season. It's really gonna have to be Hiroyuki Sanada that's gonna carry that show moving forward. Not that he can't, he's
He can
amazing.
do it acting wise, he can
He's
do it, but the
yes,
question is, what's the story?
story,
The other thing was
story.
an established book story that's been around for ages, for, like, decades, based on, at least some kind of history, even though it's not 100% accurate, it's dramatized, but there was something there. What are they gonna do now? And, one has to wonder how they're gonna handle this. This is a classic case of just they don't wanna lose, the network doesn't wanna lose this opportunity, there's too much money here, and they're like, you know what? Let's just make more of it. But sometimes it's not that simple.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. No, yeah, it's not that. So it's like, oh yeah, we had this great first season. What are we gonna do to carry this show forward? It's like, well, we have no plan. We have no idea. We have no material to build off of. So yeah, I am frankly I'm dreading a second season of this show. Because the first one was so well done. I understand there's a lot of fans of the original adaptation that was done back in the 80s. And it's also quite good. Uh, there are things that I did not like about this season of Shogun. I did not like the way they chose to end it. Uh, but yeah,
People
why?
complained that the ending was a bit lackluster.
Yeah, I
I
just
didn't mind it. I actually didn't mind it. I didn't even care. I enjoyed it even with the ending.
I didn't hate it. It felt kind of rushed. You felt a little cheated. You didn't actually get to see that final confrontation, right? It's like, well, we're gonna sit down and well, we all know what will happen. It'll look like this, and then kind of move on. Like, oh, come on.
Yeah,
Like, I
it
just
felt like a
actually
bit of a cop out.
give us the confrontation. Let us see that big confrontation at the end. But yeah, I guess another big winner from the Emmys was The Bear. Have you watched The Bear?
I started watching it. I watched the first few episodes and I didn't hate it, but it didn't pull me in. And people are like, "How can you not watch the whole thing? This is the best thing that ever happened." Those first 3 episodes just didn't grab me, but does something happen after 3 episodes that I suddenly get wowed by it?
I don't know. I watched the first episode and then I've seen some bits and pieces elsewhere. Same with me here. It did not draw me in. I did not see the appeal as to what it was that I was supposed to be so enthralled by, what this magic was that was supposed to pull me into the show. Maybe it was too dark for me. I don't know. It just, yeah, it did not draw me in. I have to be kind of picky with the shows that I watch these days. I don't have a lot of time, with family and work and everything, and so it's like, it just didn't pull me in. It didn't get my attention. So off to the next thing, right? So I guess that it is what it is. But yeah, there's a bunch of things I do want to watch. I've heard great things about a number of shows that were up for potential Emmys. Slow Horses was one. I don't think it won anything, but it was up for a few different possible awards. There were a few others. I guess Slow Horses did win one. It got writing for a drama series, so that's good. Um, yeah, there were a few others in there too, but there were some others that were just baffling, like Jodie Foster winning for True Detective Night Country. I watched 2 episodes of that, and it was so bad, I could not go back
The
to it.
Night
I don't.
Country thing, I started watching a few episodes of that, and it bored me.
Yeah,
It was so boring.
yeah, no, True Detective has been just an amazing uh, phenomenon. Like, the first season
The
was
first season was fantastic, and
astounding.
everything that came afterwards has been diminishing returns of sorts.
I did not like the second season. I just didn't think it had a good story. I thought there were some interesting performances in it, but the story was just very convoluted and it just didn't land. I really did enjoy the third season with Mahershala Ali. Again, the story was not quite as coherent as that first season. It didn't pull you in as much, but I thought it was interesting and it worked together in the end. And Mahershala Ali, definitely did them some favors. His performance was fantastic. He's
I think I
one of
watched
those actors that
the
I really do love.
I think I may have only watched the first and second one. I tend to think that the Mahershala Ali, I didn't see that season for some reason,
Yeah,
and then for some reason I watched that Night Country a few episodes because it's like an anthology supposedly. So I just watched maybe 3 episodes even of it, and I'm just like, man, this is boring, and I just don't feel like watching it. And that was the end of it.
yeah. I think I watched the first couple and I was like, no thanks. I'm not coming. I'm not coming back.
Yeah, I mean,
So
sometimes you just see things and you're like, what benefit will I get by watching this thing?
looks like we've got a super chat over on YouTube. Another one from the Dead Man for 4.99. Thank you, the Dead Man. We appreciate it. Says, Price, I saw a trailer for a movie called Mickey 17. Have you seen the trailer? It looks original.
What did he ask?
So he said he saw a trailer for a movie called Mickey 17. He was
I
wondering if
haven't
you had
seen the
seen
trailer to
that.
that. What is it actually?
Hmm. Curious myself now. Mickey 17.
Let me try to see.
An upcoming science fiction comedy written and directed, co-produced by Bong Joon-ho, based on the 2022 novel Mickey 7. Hmm.
I'm
Mickey
gonna
17 is an expendable, a disposable employee on a human expedition sent to colonize the ice world of Niflheim. After one iteration dies, a new body is regenerated with
here.
memories
Let's look at it.
intact.
Let's look at the.
So, yeah. Oh, we don't have any audio.
You don't hear it?
No.
Okay, hold on one second. Let's see if I do this. Can you hear it?
Oh,
Yep.
wow. Did you see?
Hmm.
You know, it's probably not the worst movie in the world. It looked like it was at least trying to do something. I think that the weaknesses here is that I don't love Robert Pattinson, and in
No.
addition, I certainly don't love Mark Ruffalo. Those are
Oh,
two
yeah.
things that don't really buy me when it comes to casting. But I'm not saying maybe it'll be an okay movie.
Yeah. Kind of, someone mentioned in the chat, they kind of said it kind of looks something like Moon. That was actually what I was thinking too. Yeah. Have you ever seen that one?
I don't think
Moon?
so. Which one was Moon?
Moon is about a guy who's he works in this space station. on, well, space station. He works on a station on the moon, collecting ore essentially, and he's out there collecting ore that they use. They refine it for energy and such. And as you're going through the film, he gets injured, and then you see him. He shows back up, and he's recovering. You know, he's waking up from supposedly being treated from this injury, and he goes out and he's doing his job, and he finds this sort of crashed mining thing, and in the crashed ship he finds himself. And so he eventually finds out that in going up for this job, and it's Sam Rockwell that plays the lead, he finds out that he's been cloned, and all his communications that he has with Earth are fake. And so there's all sorts of crazy stuff that happens as it moves on from that. Sam Rockwell's the lead in that, and then there's a computer that he communicates with regularly that's voiced by Kevin Spacey. It was an indie film, uh, and it was really a fantastic movie. I would definitely recommend it. It's been a while. It was 2010, 2009
I don't
when
remember
that
it,
came
but
out.
I would give it a chance. I mean, it sounds pretty cool the way you're describing it,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I mean, this thing, it's, I don't know why. The thing that we just saw the trailer, I feel like the movie is probably not going to be a disaster. I don't know, based on what I'm saying that. I think that maybe it has something interesting about it. But man, I saw Mark Ruffalo making that weird face. Mark Ruffalo, for me, beyond the fact that in his private life he says a bunch of dumb crap all the time that's really annoying, I also think that the thing that annoys me about Mark Ruffalo is that I don't think he's a good enough actor that he should be even allowed to say all that nonsense, if that makes sense. Meaning,
No.
when you're
Uh,
not such a good actor, maybe it's best you just shut up and do your role because you're not that good anyways.
yeah, not a big fan of Mark
I've
Ruffalo
always felt that he's
myself.
very overrated. I don't really know how he became a thing, and I think that people think more highly of that guy than they should. He's not an actor that I really buy in most movies. I think I've said it before. He has this dopey look on his face, and that's why when he suddenly plays somebody more sophisticated, I don't buy it because in real life, he. Again, I know it sounds bad because I've heard him say the stuff he says, but even before I ever heard all the nonsense he spoke, I think when you look in his eyes, you could see that he's kind of dumb.
There's kind of an emptiness
There's
behind
like
those
this a
eyes.
dumb, empty look on his face. I know that's a terrible thing to say. I feel bad.
No, I
And one
I I agree. I know exactly what you're saying. It's like
Yes,
you
yeah,
see him, and you
and
see
that's
him
the truth.
spouting off about this or spouting off about that, liberal cause or whatever that he's out there supporting, and behind it, it's just like you're just repeating something someone else said, aren't you? Like
Right, but he doesn't even give me the feeling that he knows what he's repeating. Like, if it's
exactly.
something
It's just
as
just
Banner,
rote.
I don't buy him. I don't buy him as Banner. Give me Bill Bixby any day of the week. I'll take even Edward Norton. Edward Norton looks like he's smart. I never knew if I thought that Edward Norton was the perfect uh,
No.
Bruce Banner and Hulk. I don't know if he was the perfect one, but you know what? He at least had more depth and character than Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, actually, I've always liked Ed Norton,
He's a
the
really good
actor.
actor. He's a really good
He's
actor.
yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I grew up watching at least the reruns of that Bill Bixby show, and for
Hmm.
me, I really liked what he did. I liked
Yeah,
that I liked this kind of reserved way that he played him. I really liked his portrayal, and I don't think that neither Edward Norton nor Mark Ruffalo really got it, in my opinion.
yeah. He brought a lot of depth to that role. He brought a lot of emotion, a lot of empathy to that character of Bruce Banner, and
Bixby, for some reason, I know, say what you want. I know he was a TV actor, whatever you want to say. I think Bixby was the best actor to ever play the Incredible Hulk, like live action,
yeah, yeah,
or at least
and
Banner, if you know what I mean.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and by the way, I actually like that he turns into Lou Ferrigno. That to me, I really loved that. Like, he turns into him, and then
Yeah,
he's that. That's so great. You can give me all the CGI in the world, but there's something about the way Lou Ferrigno would show up and break things And I don't know why there's a certain magic about it that it's not the same thing with the CGI.
No, no, that original that series from the '80s worked so well, or from the '70s. It worked so well, uh, and yeah, the the sort of silly, yeah, oh, he transforms into a totally different dude, whatever. It worked. It worked just fine, and you believe both actors in their roles, playing what they were doing, and it was fine. And yeah, but I think Bill Bixby, if anything, was underrated at how well he did in that role. It's very memorable, and like you said, brought a lot of emotion, brought a lot of empathy to that character. In what honestly, it's a silly comic book show, but you have a character that's tragic in everything that he's going through, and you really feel it. Yeah. But yeah, I did enjoy Ed Norton. I like Ed Norton as an actor. I've liked him ever since the first performance I ever saw him in was American History X, where I thought he did an incredible job
Incredible job,
with
incredible
some
job.
absolute just insanely challenging material to bring that on the screen and perform that the way he did. I also really enjoyed him in Fight Club. Don't love the film Fight Club, but I enjoyed his performance in that.
I like the movie, and
Um,
I think he's great in it. I think he's
yeah,
totally great.
yeah.
I want to say Argendum says half of Ruffalo's face is semi-paralyzed from the aftermath of something. I don't remember what. He still sucks though. I did not know that. I'm not looking even for somebody like Mark Ruffalo, who I'm not biggest fan of. Not looking to poke fun at somebody if that's the case. All I know is that he doesn't give me the depth when I look at him. He doesn't seem like a deep personality. Whereas Edward Norton, somebody was saying here that he was miscast. Who said it? It was Adam Gray said that he was miscast, and maybe he was. But I will say that at least he looks intelligent and smart. He just seems a little bit of a wise ass. And what I liked about Bill Bixby is that there was something kind of compassionate and kind
Yes, absolutely.
about him that you automatically like this guy. It's like you see Bill Bixby and you like him, and I think that's really important. And how he transformed into Lou Ferrigno's Hulk, it was just great. I really feel that even with all the acting and with all the CGI and computers and uh, technical stuff, they weren't able to recreate that exact magic in the movies. Sure, with the CGI, you can make the Hulk look a lot more impressive than he did on the TV show, but there's still something that maybe isn't 100% there. That feeling of when Bill Bixby when his banner would get upset, and then like you'd have the eyes suddenly like looking kind of he has they probably put contact lenses or whatever it is that they're suddenly like his eyes become bright and he can't hold his anger and he turns into the Hulk. Man, that still works. It still somehow works, and it actually has more emotional power than some of the crap that we see in those Marvel movies. Respectfully,
Yeah, yeah.
it may not
Adam,
be a popular idea, popular thought. Some people are
yeah.
probably thinking this guy's crazy. Why is he talking about this show from the '70s? I don't know. I liked what they did there. It had more heart, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. I really do. I loved that show when I was a kid, and I haven't gone back to watch it anytime recently, but I really did enjoy that show. It was something that we would watch regularly on reruns, especially when I was growing up. So uh, yeah, so a lot of people in the chat talking about Ed Norton and talking about Bixby. A fan of Outsider says Bixby had 4 iconic roles on television, which is really hard to do. The Magician, My Favorite Martian, Courtship of Eddie's Father, and The Incredible Hulk. So yeah, that's pretty wild. Adam Gray was saying that he doesn't. Not that he doesn't like Norton. He says it's not that Norton isn't talented, just can't stop seeing Ed Norton when he's on screen.
It's
Kind of
true.
like Tom
It's
Cruise.
very much you don't get lost in the role. He's very Ed Norton-y, and Ed
Yeah.
Norton has this kind of wise ass vibe. And I didn't feel that that was the right vibe for. I think in his case, it is Bruce Banner. In the TV show, it's David Banner. In the movies, it's Bruce Banner.
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember why. I think some executive was like, "Hey, why don't we call him David instead?" Like, I think there was like no real reason why they called him David Banner, except for some guy who was just like, "F it."
They had seen too much Monty Python, and Bruce was just too gay of a name, so they decided to use David instead. I don't know. But yeah, who knows why? But yeah, I do actually I kind of agree with that. Like Ed Norton, I don't know that he was a great Bruce Banner. I just know that I do like him a lot as an actor. Uh, Ed Norton as an actor, I think he's gotten kind of a reputation of being a bit of a dick on set. Some people don't like him. He's kind of demanding. He's kind of pushy, and that's hurt his career a lot. In fact, I've seen he was in Birdman, which I love that film with Michael Keaton. Um, that when he was in that film, the role that he plays in that is supposedly based on him. Have you seen that one, Price?
No. Which one was it?
Birdman.
Oh, that was him playing himself.
That essentially the role that Ed Norton played in that movie was essentially written to be him. So
Really, that's
him
interesting.
being really, really pushy and demanding and on wanting to change things in the script and wanting
I believe it.
all these little concessions here and there and being really pushy about being really all about his craft and in people's faces about stuff like it was supposedly now it was supposed to be a sort of a tongue in cheek uh representation that was actually supposed to be based on his behaviors that he's exhibited in other projects. So
He's considered difficult, I know, but he's a good actor. But yeah,
he really
I
is.
don't know if he was the best casting for that. But
Yeah.
anything really better than Ruffalo, which just felt like an
Yeah.
empty, hollow.
Yeah.
I put up
Yeah.
with him, but really over time, he's not the best. But it is what it is. Let's see. This is interesting. I don't know if you saw this, and this I just saw it now. I wasn't aware of this, but apparently, if I understand correctly from this article, which I was quickly looking at, Ryan Reynolds claims that Bob Iger asked him to change a line in the movie Deadpool. There was something that Ryan Reynolds did, and Bob Iger was watching kind of like a late cut of it, if not like the final cut or whatever. And he was like, "Hey, can you remove this thing?" And
Yes. Well, remember
Ryan
that
Reynolds removed it. What'd you
Bob
say?
Iger famously watches every production that Disney puts out 5 times before it goes out to the public. So
Is that true?
that's what he says. I seriously doubt he wastes his time watching each production they make
I
5
mean,
times,
did he
but
watch Agatha All Along 5 times? Because I feel really bad for it. Did he watch Echo 5 times?
oh, we can only hope, right?
I could
I can
barely
only
make it through Echo once. There's no way Bob Iger watched Echo 5 times. No way.
no. I
I don't
mean,
believe it. But
yeah.
it's interesting. I wonder. Ryan Reynolds wouldn't say what that sentence is. I have to wonder what it is that thing that he has to remove. What is it that
Who
alarmed Bob Iger
knows?
so much that he's like, Ryan, please remove this?
If I were to guess, it was probably something that referred to Bob Iger. He
You know
probably
what? You're
didn't like
probably
the
right.
joke. He would have left Kevin Feige jokes in there. He would have left, KK jokes in there. But if it's something about Bob Iger, I bet you he made sure that that was dropped immediately.
You know what? You're probably right. He probably heard some kind of Bob Iger joke,
That
and
or
he's
that
like,
or something to do with Disney stock collapsing or something.
right. It must have been some dig at Disney or Disney CEO or Bob Iger himself or whatever it is. There must have been something, but I am now curious to know what that sentence was.
Who knows? Maybe we find out whenever we get the all the bonus material that supposedly
Maybe
exists.
one day somebody will tell us what happened. But
There's supposedly hours worth of bonus material from this production, so
I
we'll just
believe
have to
it.
wait and see.
But at the end, this whole situation, Bob Iger didn't even want this movie, and everybody didn't even love it. And at the end, this is what saved them.
Yeah, I mean this and the big surprise of Inside Out 2. A lot of people, r- completely within reason, believe that it was just going to be another big failure from Disney, from Pixar, and it turned out to be a huge hit. And so, yeah, this and Inside Out 2 were the only successes that, and both, I think, uh, rather surprising successes. Inside Out, probably a bigger surprise than Deadpool and Wolverine. But those two movies have kept Disney in the black. Well, at least not as in the red as they might have been otherwise. But um, yeah, I'm honestly, I was surprised they even made Deadpool and Wolverine. It seemed like something that was not going to happen under Disney, and if it did, it was probably going to be messed with nonstop. And it seems like they got to make the movie they wanted to make. So it's not the best movie that's ever been made. That's
No, but it
for
was
sure,
entertaining. I mean,
but it
it
was
wasn't
fun.
the best movie at all, but it got some laughs out of me. It wasn't the worst movie, but it's very much a movie of its moment. It's not a great Deadpool movie, and it's not a great Wolverine movie. It's complete fan service. It's something that at that moment grabs you. But I don't know over the years how much rewatchability it'll have. But sometimes you don't need that. You just need a big hit, and if they wanted a big hit that has 1.3 billion at the box office, then they got it. By the way, I'm looking at this article. Billie Eilish and Phineas endorse Kamala Harris.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. First of all, what every dumb idiot that endorses somebody, we're going to see an article like this now.
Yeah, well, and of course we had very uh, big endorsement uh, the other day, right after the debate,
Yeah, with Taylor
with
Swift or
Taylor
whatever.
Swift,
I,
and some of the early polling is showing that her endorsement may have increased some audience and their likelihood to vote for Kamala by 7%. Uh, but other audiences were less likely to vote for Kamala by 13%. So, if anything, it hurt Kamala.
that would be
uh,
funny.
or at the very best for her, it was a draw and it didn't make any difference, which is what a lot of people said right up front after her endorsement, was that it's not going to change anything. No one really cares about her endorsement, and her endorsement doesn't actually do anything, sway any particular demographic in a meaningful way.
I'm going to
So
say something, and I know this is a terrible thing to say. If Billie Eilish and Phineas, instead of having a career now, if they suddenly were in the year like 1990 or the 70s or maybe even the 80s, they'd be, those people that are in the subway with the like busking, whatever it is that they do, that they throw them like coins in the subway.
yeah.
That's what Billie Eilish and Phineas would be doing. They'd be in the subway like with a hat that you throw like coins inside. That would be like the peak of their career, in my opinion, if they lived in another era. It's only this era that we're in today that these type of charlatans can make a career for themselves. And I don't know. Some people tell me, "What? Don't you think she's talented? She whispers all the time." No, I don't think it's talented. It's annoying that she whispers, and she's annoying. Uh, her whole vibe is annoying. Every single aspect of this lady is annoying. And her brother, they're like, oh, but he's such a genius. No, he's not a genius. I mean, okay, I can't argue with the results. Somehow between her, I don't want to say family connections. This whole thing is fishy. Never bought into this whole idea of her and her brother in their bedroom making the songs or whatever. Something fishy about this whole narrative from day one. But in any case, they can, give these two 70 awards. Don't think much of them at all. Haven't
Yeah.
heard one song that I thought to myself, wow, these guys are real songwriters. You know what I mean? Just like whatever. There's nothing special that this guy does. And she mumbles and whispers and does weird crap. Maybe if she didn't mumble all day and whisper into the microphone, she actually took a microphone and sang like a woman, maybe wouldn't sound so bad. But I can't really tell you because all she does is
Yeah. And I've never heard anything from Billie Eilish that I liked, and I'll be honest, until about 2 minutes ago, I'd never heard of Phineas before, and I think I would be
Phineas
okay
is her
ever
brother. So
hearing
basically, the
about him
way
again.
she has a career supposedly is that her and her brother Phineas would sit in their bedroom and then they'd write songs together. And then it became a quote unquote Cinderella story. Something about the whole narrative
Mm,
is always fishy, but never mind. It became some big Cinderella story. They're in their bedroom writing crappy songs, and now everybody thinks they're great. And since then, it's like,
yeah.
wow, Phineas. It's like, come on, I don't care about these two guys. I think they're like so mediocre, and only this kind of Gen Z, whatever they are, that just are so dumb. Like I don't want to say dumb. There's some people that must be smart. I don't want to make a generalization. There must be some good people in Gen Z, and there must be some that aren't dumb. But there are enough that like think, wow, Phineas. You know what I mean? There's at least enough of them that they think that Phineas is awesome. But that's
Okay,
just me. You
well,
know what?
sure, yeah.
If people are watching this and they love Billie Eilish and Phineas, that's fine too.
Good
Uh,
for you.
I'm not trying to insult anybody. I'm very picky. I'm very picky about what I like. I like it when people have this like cool character. I these guys don't come off as cool to me. But cool is different now. Now, you have
Oh,
these
yeah.
kids that they don't know anything. So to them this seems cool.
Man, I remember when cool was rockers getting
Right, it
wasted
was
on
like badass
drugs and
people that were acting
booze
like
and
badass. Yeah.
sleeping with every woman they could find, tearing up hotel rooms, and that was cool. That was awesome that you'd
You
have
wanted
these
to be
these
badass like those
crazy
rockers.
badass
Now you're
rockers.
like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, it's Phineas. He has a new
Yeah.
bow tie."
Yeah.
You let him go wear his bow tie somewhere.
Just yeah, and honestly, when was the last time some high profile entertainer endorsed
And and I
anyone
and
but
I
the
bet you
Democratic candidate
I bet you without
for
even zooming
presidency?
in that those 2 pins or something that the watermelon people or something like that, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Those must be 2 watermelons that they're wearing. Just saying, just throwing that out there that I feel like if we zoomed in, there would be watermelons there.
Oh boy.
I'm willing to bet you, like, a lot of money for it. Now I have to see. Now I have to see. What is
Now
that
you
thing?
gotta assume what are they?
Okay. I'm zooming in. Are you ready?
Go for it.
What is something that has, like, a hand on it?
Hmm. Well, I think they may be members of Hydra.
Okay,
That
what's a red hand? Let's see for a second. I'm gonna check this now. Okay, are you
hand
ready?
worn
Are
by
you ready?
celebrity, red hands. Yes.
Are you ready for it? I found it on Amazon, this pin that they're wearing. Are you sitting down?
I can guess what it's about, but yeah, I'm
Okay,
actually standing up, but
here
yes,
you go.
Gaza. Oh, I could have called it. I knew it. I say it's gonna be
It had to
something to
be.
do
What
with
else could they be wearing?
Israel.
You think they're gonna wear pins and it's not gonna be some annoying political crap? Of course. See, back in the day, this would be considered lame. Whoever would be the rockers wouldn't have time for this shit. You know what I mean? They'd be too busy hanging out with models in a jacuzzi to be wearing these pins at an event, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah. We know how Price likes to spend his weekends.
These days, I think that my weekends are very mellow. But I would say that decades ago, I maybe I did more with my time.
Well, you're not wearing any red hand pins around. We know
I'm not
that.
wearing it. I don't have any watermelons or red hands or all that stuff.
Uh,
Somebody wrote, Billy's not hot. She's got nice uh, balloons, and her
yeah.
face is pretty beat. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I really there's nothing that she doesn't generate. It's the same thing I think about Zendaya too. She doesn't generate like a feminine vibe. You know what I mean? Actually, probably Zendaya at least generates a little more than Billie
Yeah, a
Eilish,
little bit.
a little bit more, but they don't give off this kind of vibe of like I'm this woman, I'm a woman type of vibe. I don't really
Well,
know how to explain it.
that seems to be the thing now. I mean, you've got a bunch of these celebrities. You got Phoebe Waller-Bridge, right? It's this thing where it's like they're female, but not particularly feminine. They're almost androgynous in a way, and that's like
Yeah,
that's
that's
who
what they like.
Hollywood
All
wants
these
to
kind of
hire
people,
now.
they that's what everybody loves. That you're not any kind of gender. You just stand around and nobody cares. I don't know why they like this, but that's the weird generation that we're sort of encouraging for some reason. I personally am against this. I think that back in the day when women came out and they looked like women and acted like it, I think that it was a better a better setup.
Matthew Marcel in the chat says, "Ugh, Zendaya looks and acts like an angry 12-year-old boy." I
It's
disagree.
true.
I disagree. Zendaya acts like Zendaya playing Zendaya in the role of a lifetime. Zendaya. Uh, she never plays anything but herself. She's just Zendaya. And to be honest, I can appreciate that in some ways. Someone being very true to themselves. But if you're an actor, learn to act other than just being yourself. Just a personal preference.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
at the end, maybe some people like these ladies. I don't know why they like them, but all I know is that we had it better than these people do.
yep.
We lived in the good times, like they're not living in the good times. They don't realize it, but we had it much better than they did.
I think we did. Yeah. I mean, honestly,
It's rare. It's
I
rare.
feel kind of bad for some of
Right. I
this
mean, it's
newer
rare.
generation
It's rare
coming
that
up.
we've reached a point. I don't think that in the past people our age could say that about another generation the way we can say it now, but I think we can really wholeheartedly say that they really got the short end of the stick here. We had so much better movies, so much better music,
Oh
so
yeah.
many things that were just cooler. People communicating with each other, not with those phones all day. There were so many things that we had that they'll never have, and they'll never know how good it was. And it's unfortunate because there was I'm not saying there wasn't bad in the world, but thinking about it now, there was a lot of good things happening too. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, now all of that I'm sure there's still good things somewhere, but some of those unique experiences we had, they don't exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and a lot of that has come from, just the way people, this generation was raised. Many of them were raised just being surrounded by technology at all times. Their face buried in a phone all the time. They didn't learn the same way that many of us did, by scraping our knees and getting into scraps with our friends, and learning from these different experiences. Never had these experiences because they've been so thoroughly protected by their parents and by this safetyism that's been around for the past several decades now, where any kind of little thing that might upset you, it might hurt your self-esteem or something, instead of just letting people get out there and just experience failure and experience loss and experience difficult times, and actually growing from those experiences. We've got to protect everybody from, because they're just so frail that the tiniest little thing could injure you, could damage you in some way. And then, extending that out, and what we've seen even more in the last decade is that, oh, well, now feelings can hurt you, right? It's not actually like, falling down and scraping your knee, or getting in a fist fight. No, words can damage your ego and hurt you in ways,
Phantom
and
Outsider
it's
says,
so
Price of
frustrating.
Reason Live, Professor R2, come on, guys. What do you expect? They give everyone participation trophies, so why try? Showing up is enough. Don't innovate. That's hard. Just go. I'm here. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, there's certainly something that I don't like seeing all of that, and it's true.
yeah, it's you just have this whole generation that's never really had an experience. They've never taken chances. You've never seen real failure. They've never experienced that because they've been protected from all of that, in a variety of different ways.
And
So
Empress NM says, I've noticed my neighbors walking around outside, never without their smartphones. It's creepy, like a baby's pacifier. True.
yeah, I hate that I'm tied to mine so often, and part of it's just the job, part of it's, my kids communicating with me and stuff. I feel like I've got it around all the time, but if I sit down to watch a movie, I don't sit down to watch a movie with my phone in my hand. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to focus on the experience of that film. And if I'm going to sit down with my family and play a board game or something, we're going to do that, right? We're going to put those devices and distractions away. But there's a lot of people, I don't think that they can. I don't think they can check out of those things anymore. They're too absorbed in that to ever check out.
Stephen Mack says that's why so many of them are obsessed with the 80s. It's possible.
Oh
Possible.
no, I think that's 100%. They're obsessed with looking back at the 80s and the 90s because we actually had culture at that point. We had new and exciting music. We had all sorts of new and interesting things happening in the world, and we had people who are
They're
actually being
jealous of us.
creative.
Yeah.
They're
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 jealous
they're
of
people are jealous of
they're jealous of
what was
us.
going on then. Yeah, yeah,
Adam Gray says words are violence now. That's true.
yeah.
And then let me see a few other people here were
Yeah.
saying
We do,
Argentum
We got
was
a
saying,
we got another super chat, another one from the Dead Man for
"Ooh,
$1.99.
good man, thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank
I
you, the
really
Dead Man.
appreciate it.
It says dynamites. No, yeah,
Dynamite?
dynamites
Okay.
with an S.
Uh, okay, great. And then Argentum says, "That's why I wasn't allowed a phone until I was 16, which was in 2007. I feel like I was part of this last generation that knows what life was like without constantly being surrounded by tech." That's true. Uh, let me see Matthew Marcillo. This is why I hate how these younger generation act for everybody have to be protected now with their feelings and nobody can agree to disagree anymore. Yeah, it's very annoying. Some of these bands and artists, they used to have character. They used to be badass. These people just are twerps. They find out what the latest hashtag thing and they start wearing pins and going, putting on their bow tie or whatever that is. I don't know. You know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
And then finally, Phantom Outsider says, well, having the phone is a good idea. As messed up as things are, you might need it to call for help. I can see it in your pocket, but walking and looking at it, no. I think that the problem is initially when it was just the phone, and you could have it as in your pocket that you could call somebody. I think that was sort of all right. But once they started with the smartphones and that the whole world and it's like a computer in your pocket, maybe it was inevitable that that would happen. But man, that was the moment where it really became difficult.
Yeah, well, and it wasn't just the smartphones. It was when we started having the social media included with those smartphones too. You constantly are connected to this network of people who you're going to communicate with them. I got to share this part of my life, and I got to share that part of my life, and what's my friend doing, and what's that person doing, and where are they right now, and what am I missing out on? And yeah, it just became insane.
Yeah, we have a comment from the dead man, and what he says is, "I meant dynamite good times." Cool. Thank you.
Ah, yeah, okay, good times. Yeah, it was the S that confused me. It was just dynamite. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I got that
We
from Good
appreciate
Times.
it
Yeah,
though. And, and of
dynamite.
and of course, anybody that's watching this, whether on Rumble or any other platform, if you can like this stream, and if you want to follow this channel, it's also great. Liking and following is great. These are things that are very much appreciated. I know that sometimes people on different platforms, they actually don't even have an account. They're just enjoying the shows. And first of all, we love that you're here. So that's perfectly fine. But if you happen to be able to go in and do like a like, or, drop a comment or anything like that, that's really very appreciated, because the more interaction we have, the more we kind of get to know you guys. There's also already a nice crowd that we kind of know, that we see here a lot, but the more we interact, the more we get to know the people, and it really helps us do a better job, because we kind of have more interaction.
Yeah,
And of course, Professor R2 has his own YouTube channel, and you should follow that. I don't know if he's on here on Rumble. This is a Rumble-driven show. First of all, I mean, we're Rumble is our headquarters, but for
yeah.
specifically Professor, I think he has some channel there.
I do have a Rumble channel. I have
Oh,
I
you
have
have a
the
Rumble?
the
Well,
only
then
the only video I've ever put up is also there on on
on
Rumble.
Rumble? So yeah, great. So follow him on whatever platform you're on. Professor R2 is there. There's also on Twitter, he's there. So check out whatever he's doing. It's always great that he sits with us here and on this panel. For me, I absolutely love doing this show on Rumble. Rumble is our home base when it comes to the Night Owl, and we're always grateful for the opportunity that we're given here, and really enjoy being here. Rumble is a great
Yeah.
platform for free speech, and have always really enjoyed what we do here. And I guess just for our final segment here, I just wanted to know, now with all this gaming stuff, it seems like Ubisoft is really in a bad spot. Am I right?
Oh, they are very much in a very bad place right now. Their stock has been tanking recently. They've got a lot of investors who are asking a lot of questions as to what their plans are going forward. What are they going to do to dig themselves out of the hole that they've dug? The most recent release that they've had with Star Wars Outlaws has been a massive flop. They were expecting a very, very large number of sales from that. That did not happen. It had very bad word of mouth from early on, and it's proven to be an absolute joke of a game. Oh, it looks like Tom from Midnight's Edge After Dark is here. Hey, Tom.
Hey, there was talk of Tom maybe joining us, but I guess he
Yeah.
had some stuff going on.
Yeah, that's all right. But yeah, Ubisoft has been in a real pickle. This game has cost them a lot of money. It's been in development for quite a few years now, and it just did not materialize as a big seller for them. And it's obvious as to why. Anybody who's actually watched any gameplays of this, just ignore all those shill accounts like we were talking about earlier on. Some of these Star Wars YouTubers who've been flown out to Lucasfilm and treated to all sorts of stuff, yet still claim that they're objective. It's a turd of a game. If you watched any gameplays from anyone who's objective and was really showing what the experience is like, it looks like
It looks
I,
awful. It looks
it,
awful. I
it
know
looks
I'm
like a
considered a
PlayStation 3 game. It looks it's like you made this today. This is supposed to be a title that you spent years and years making, and it just looks like a mess. And then there's all kinds of bugs and things happening throughout the game. It's laughably bad. And then the story is just boring. It's just boring. And so yeah, everyone talking up this game, it's been a huge dud, and rightly so. Lots of people just turning away from it, not interested. And now they are going to have their next big title for the year, really their last big title for the year, which is Assassin's Creed Shadows. And we've talked about that here on this show a number of times with the Black Samurai.
Yeah,
That
that's not gonna go very well for them either, I think. I
No,
think that'll be like the trifecta of failure here.
yeah, and they've been digging the hole even deeper over the last couple of weeks. There's been a few different interviews that have gone around. One of the I believe writers of the game, or maybe it was one of the game designers, was saying essentially, people were complaining about how this doesn't seem like a genuine representation of Japan at the time. Why did you go this way? Why did you choose this? And they said, well, we'll just make Japan whatever we want it to be, right? It's like, okay, that seems kind of weird coming from a Western developer, right? We're just going to make it what we want it to be. I mean, it seems like if you're going to place this in a historical period, you should be doing your best to try and represent that historical period
Well,
accurately. But
I guess that guy that was like a phony historian, they built too much of their game on his
they did.
dumb,
Yeah.
phony baloney, and now they don't know how to get out of it. So they're like, "Well, we were trying to reimagine it." Well, good luck with that, and good luck with the Japanese, who, if there's one thing that they don't like, is that you go around and disrespect their culture.
Yeah, yeah, and you mess with their culture, you mess with their history. They're quite reverential when it comes to the history of their country and who they've been. Even going back 1,000 years. They very much care about their history, and to just say, oh, we're just going to do with it what we want, that is the wrong direction to go. And the actual historians in Japan that have come forward, a number of them have essentially said what a lot of people were saying off the bat, that this guy, and I cannot remember his name, that was telling this story of Yasuke and writing these books, and then we found out afterwards, not only was he writing this book, but then he was going and he was himself using a pseudonym to get into Wikipedia and editing articles there to make his book
So
look more
fishy, so
legitimate.
fishy. Yeah.
It's frankly, it's disgusting, right? Going through and saying, I'm going to just sort of make this up, and everyone's going to believe it because I go in and I pretend to be different people backing it up. So I just make my book the ultimate in this particular era, telling this story that no one else has ever told, when it's actually based in nothing except the stuff that I've made up. Um, it's circular logic, right? Well, it's true because I say it's true because I wrote it in a book, and then I also backed that up with other stuff that I wrote elsewhere. But there's been a lot of historians now that have been coming out and saying, no, Yasuke was not a samurai. Sorry, he was not. Yes, he was in this. Was it, I believe, Nobunaga's court? He was probably a bodyguard. That was it, right? At most. He's a bodyguard,
Yep.
maybe an entertainer.
Yep.
That was it.
Maybe a court jester.
Quite possibly, Nobunaga was known for keeping, uh, let's just say, curiosities around, right? Because he found them amusing, or thought they would bring him some kind of esteem. And having a black man in Japan certainly would be a curiosity, right? Not something anyone would see on any normal day. But yeah, there's been a number of failures already, a number of issues so far with Ubisoft, and Assassin's Creed Shadows looks like it's going to be another huge flop. If the rumors are to be believed, there were some rumors pointing to pre-orders for this game
There were like
across.
5 pre-orders.
Well, so essentially it came out. There was some behind the scenes, some rumors from people saying, hey, I work at a particular company. We've got 900 ish stores, and across those 900 stores, we have around 900 pre-orders for this game. Essentially, and if you look at the numbers, you're talking about a big box chain, 900 stores, probably Best Buy. That's the most likely because they have around 900 stores. So at Best Buy, there's around one pre-order per store for this game. That is astounding. Like this is going to be a huge flop. I think very likely. There are already, lots of talks at Ubisoft about potential layoffs and so on. I think this is going to be the end of the company. honestly. I
Yeah, I
think
think this is it.
by
And
the end of by the end of 2025, they will be sold off to somebody.
there'll be
Yeah.
like a classic example for how all this weird sweet baby DEI stuff just tears apart companies, and
Mhm.
it's going to be a cautionary tale.
Well, I hope so, and I hope a lot of other businesses take it to heart and
Although some of
recognize.
these fake
Yeah.
gaming news, they'll be like, it was because of the instant phobes that wouldn't buy the
Eh,
games.
all these haters and all these YouTubers that said it was bad, they're the ones that caused the company to fail. It was
These
actually
YouTubers,
it was a
yeah,
good game.
I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you
It
meddling YouTubers.
wasn't for these meddling YouTubers.
Uh, so I guess we went over most of the stuff for today.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just want to go over some people that were here. There were a lot of great people here. Joshua Calkins was here. Kivo 1961, Mur Rockstra, one T72, the Devastator, Eraserhead, the Dead Man, who did some super chats. Phantom Outsider, that's you, Mur Rockstra. I think I said Dead Man, Stephen Mack, Phantom Outsider. I don't know. Superior Nav. I don't know if I already said it. Phantom Outsider, Superior Nav. Jonathan Conroy, Nick sent him. That was nice of him. Grim, again, he came from a raid.
Mhm.
That 70s rock fan. Oh, I didn't notice that 70s rock fan. He's a friend. I should have highlighted this. But thanks for stopping by. Matthew Marcillo, of course. Always great to see him. Uh, did I miss anybody? Stephen Mack, Matthew Marcillo, Wiv TRS, Superior Nav. I think now it's like a
Yep.
deja vu now.
Yeah.
Eraserhead, I think I've said Dude Bro Seth 420, Daxinar. Uh, did I miss anything? Peter, hey Peter, how's it going?
No.
I hope I didn't forget anybody. If I forgot somebody, I'm sorry. People come and go. I'm trying to look at the list. I think we've got to a lot of the people here.
Yeah.
Empress NM, I think I said already. Adam Gray. Uh,
Yeah.
I think we did it. If I forgot somebody, I apologize. It's great seeing you all here. Professor, is there anything
Yeah.
special? Swift Davy.
No, yeah, Swift Davy, yeah, hey there. No, nothing in particular today. Thanks everyone for being here. Glad to see so many of you joining us over on YouTube. Lots of people joining us on Rumble as well. So yeah, thanks for being
Rumble,
here.
like I always say, this is a Rumble-driven show. Rumble is our home base. The thing is that when we do a show on different platforms, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, you never know if your stream. I sometimes I'm on a stream, somebody says something not good, and suddenly the stream disappears. That's actually happened to me. It's even happened to me with streams that I've done. And the one thing I can say is that there's one place where I do the stream and I don't think that they're just going to suddenly shut it down, and that's Rumble. And that is not something that's not something minor. That actually means a lot to me. So that's why for me when I do these streams with you, I really think of the Rumble home base of the Rumble audience. And of course, we're happy that it also goes to other platforms. But we know that Rumble is the place where we can do our stream no matter what. Even if one of the other ones decides that we said a word it doesn't like, that doesn't happen here on Rumble.
Indeed. Yeah.
So yeah, it was and that was nice. Somebody Mur Rockstra says, and I'll just read this comment. Somebody needs to start keeping a list and pasting it into chat at the end for price to read off. You know what?
I
Do it.
probably should do that,
Do it.
but
That would be great. But in any case, I want to thank everybody that tuned in today. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you guys in these Tuesdays and Thursday nights and going through these kind of interesting stories of the day. It's a very relaxed setting. It's a very kind of laid back, just two friends hanging out and talking about topics of the day. Also, hanging out with the chat here, and we really enjoy doing it. We hope that this kind of chill vibe that we have, that it also that's kind of the atmosphere we generate wherever somebody is listening to it.
Yeah, just
So
kind of hanging out, chatting.
that's we're just hanging out. That's really what we're doing, and it's a very relaxed setting, and hopefully that's how people feel, that they enjoy it. We thank you all for being here, whether it's on Rumble or on any other platform. And I guess I want to wish everybody good night,
Yeah.
and I think that's it, right?
Yeah, I think we covered it. That's good
All
for
right, bye
tonight.
guys.
Take care.